Hey, is this a game?
Hi, so the smoke break joint, Warriors.
Smoke is my second full-length book of poetry. It's a book about heartbreak, about an actual heartbreak that I experienced 2 years ago now. I had the biggest breakup that I'd ever experienced. Somebody that I'd spent 10 years of my life in partnership with decided to leave abruptly. And so I wrote Smoke to process that, to process the reality of having a broken heart and not knowing how to fix it. And so Smoke was me working through how to fix it, how to heal, how to create somebody new out of that process, how to rescue myself from this terrible experience that I was having, how to be my own savior. Warriors is a poem I wrote about the women in my life, the women in my community who hold me and lift me up, and who helped me through that heartbreak, and who hold me even in times of joy, who cheer for me when things are going well, and who are my shoulders to cry on. But it was inspired by one actual real life incident. So I used to plan local poetry workshops, and I was part of an organization called Curate. And we were having a meeting one day. It's me, Amina Brown, Andy Tucker, Jess Cusick. And we were leaving a coffee shop, and my car, my Kia Soul at the time, my tire's flat, it's leaning. And I'm like, well, at least I have AAA. I'll call AAA, figure it out, right? And Amina's like, I'll call Matt, I'll call my husband, he'll come help us out, whatever. So Jess starts putting up her hair in a bun and jacking up the tire. And the next thing I know, my tires changed. And I was like, these are the kind of women that I need when the revolution comes. These are the women I need to show up to go to work, okay? People who can check the oil and change the tires, and also women who can be like, look, I just need to call AAA, but I got this, right? And so it evolved into this poem about, you know, who's your army? Who are the people that you want to stand with you when the time comes? And an interesting fusion of the show. So when Sharod and I were sitting to write the music, I had my own ideas about where I wanted inspiration to come from. And one song that I've been playing in rotation was Chance the Rapper's Smoke Break. It's Chance and Future. And I fell in love with the song, the groove of it. And it's like, we deserve a smoke break. And so I was like, well, that should be the intro to the show. I like that. The show is called Smoke. And then I was trying to figure out what poem we would use to to start the show. And I was like, I'm gonna put Warriors here. And yeah, that's how it happened. Good evening, everybody. My name is Ashlee Haze. We've been in our homes a long time, and I thought you deserved a smoke break. So grab your smoke if you have it. Grab your drink if you have that. Grab your bae if you got one of those. Sit back, relax, and enjoy smoke.
Let me crack this blunt, slow it down for a second. Break it down, ooh, she said. Let me lick this blunt, slow it down for a second. Break it down, ooh. We deserve a smoke break. We deserve a smoke break.
When the revolution comes, send me women who smoke and drink gin and cuss loudly. Women who sit with their legs open, messy-haired women who cock pistol for sport. Send me women who wear comfortable shoes. Women who change the tires and check the oil, then tell the tow truck man to keep it moving cause he took too long. It ain't just like a man to take too long. Send Send me the women who roll backwoods and know all the verses to the International Players Anthem. Send me Madam Vice President in Tim's. Send me a village of the unladylike and watch us save your sorry asses.
Let me crack this blunt, slow it down for a second, break it down, ooh, she said. Let me crack this blunt, slow it down for a second, break it down, ooh. We deserve a small break. We deserve a small break.
Hey everybody, welcome to Smoke, the live experience. This is not quite how I imagined this happening. I thought we'd be in a palace where the beauty and majesty of the place was matched only by the magic of connecting with my people, where the music would somehow vibrate through us and we'd use it as a conduit to connect with our ancestral truth. Then the edible wore off and I realized we in a damn pandemic, so we're doing this live from City Winery. And I brought some friends along because it's less lonely when you bring your friends with you. I'm so grateful for Smoke and the work that it has done for me and the work that it does in the world. It means so much when somebody messages me and it's like, yo, I feel that. That happened to me. You know, I didn't have language for how to describe rage or how to describe, heartbrokenness or missing somebody you ain't got no business missing. And so I write the words for me first. I feel like, as an artist, you're your first audience. And so to create Smoke and put it on stage, it's like now I kind of get to bring it to that audience that I've missed for a year. And hopefully it heals a part of you too. I always write in my books, they have a message and an intention. And the intention of Smoke is that I hope this work ignites something in you. Whatever that fire is, whatever needs to be sparked, that's what I hope Smoke does.
Scrub is a guy that can't get no love from, hanging out the passenger side of his best friend's ride, trying to hide me.
Fuckboy, a noun, a man or person who breaks people's hearts without being accountable for their actions. And there's like a lot more qualifications, but that's kind of the definition that I had in my head when I was approaching Ode to Fuckboys. And it took me a while to get comfortable with saying the word fuckboy, but at a certain point I was like, you know what? There's a name for this mess, and that's what it is. And I think fuckboy, the best example is TLC Scrubs, which is why we ended up fusing that song with the poem in the show. A scrub is a guy who thinks he's fly. Yo, I just found out, I was today years old when I found out that Scrubs was written about Uncle Joey from Full House, Dave Collier. And apparently Blue Cantrell also wrote Hit 'Em Up Style about this guy. And Alanis Morissette wrote a song about it. I'm like, Uncle Joey, who knew? So a scrub, somebody who's like, they don't care. They're completely reckless with their actions. They're careless with people's hearts. I think, it's like a person who just refuses to be who they are, because that's the root of lying, of cheating, of hurting somebody else intentionally, is not being okay with who you are and what you want. And so what I hope is that through me venting, because Ode to Fuckboys is a vent, and it is my most played track on Spotify, which is like, okay, so a lot of people have needed to vent about this. And that's why I write, to give language to our experiences and not to judge them, because we tend to sit and judge our experiences like, oh, I shouldn't be angry, I shouldn't be pissed off. No, get the baseball bat. We saw Lemonade. Sometimes you have to make room for rage, and making room for it is the way that you allow it to do the work that it needs to do and get you to safety. So Smoke is a story about a girl looking for love. It's not about finding a savior. It's about being your own savior. And I had to save myself from outdated ideals about what womanhood and relationships should look like. Save myself from other people's definitions of what I should be. And most importantly, saving yourself from fuckboys. Oh, fuck boy, I marvel at your majesty. The way you sit on my couch, eating my chips, using all my internet. Oh, fuck boy, I stand in awe of your ways. How you drive the gas out of your mother's car. How you return it to her empty. How you follow through like none other. Oh, fuck boy, your basicness be amazing. How you don't delete the text from your ex. How your password be predictable. How you ever the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Oh, fuck boy. How did I live without you? Why didn't I know I needed someone to drink all of my Hennessy? Oh, fuck boy. You'll be a miracle worker. The way you manage to not have a house or car but can still afford studio time, your Xbox, and weed. Oh, fuck boy. Have you not anyone to hold you accountable? Forgive me. I forget you all be cut from the same cloth, whether it be fake Gucci or dashiki. Oh, fuck boy. I hold steadfast that you will change, that you will allow yourself to be free and tap into your power. But in the meantime, I'm singing protection spells to the tune of Call Tyrone and No Scrubs. Oh, fuck boy. I have seen the fruit of your labor. How you make a house out of women and don't even bother to take your shoes off at the front door. Oh, fuck boy. My screenshot game's strong. So consider this my farewell. Stay out of my DMs. And you can ease on down the road into the fuckboy land of far, far away.
No, I don't want no scrub. Scrub is a guy that can't get no love from me. Hanging out the passenger side of his best friend's ride, trying to holler at me. I don't want no scrub. Scrub is a guy that can't get no love from me. Hanging out the passenger side of his best friend's ride, trying to holler at me.
That poem snuck up on me. It came out of nowhere. I don't remember what I was doing, but I know I wrote it like in one sitting. And I think the line that probably came to me first, but comes later in the poem, is the fat girl be ripe fruit for the cute wounded boy who can pull a smile out of your teeth. And I was thinking about one, a real life situation. I was like 28, newly single, trying to figure out. And I decided to take this acting class. And I make friends with this young man in my acting class who is known for making jokes. That's what he does for a living. And it took me a minute to realize that I was the butt of his joke, that he wasn't taking me seriously, that, you know, he was being a different person when we weren't sharing space. And so clown was a way to process that, but it actually woke up my inner child, my, you know, the younger girl who struggled with what it meant to be the fat girl and trying to find love and trying to trust. Does this person like me? Are they going to make fun of me at the lunch table? And so clown just sort of evolved into healing her and saying, you know what? You don't got to be the butt nobody joke girl at all. You know, you got snacks, you got good weed, you keep that until somebody comes along who's going to be responsible with the goodies that you have.
You ever do some shit and you know it's a bad idea? And then you say that shit out loud and you realize it's a really fucking bad idea? You know, shit like, let's just drive the brick back from Cali ourselves. I got a 2-liter of Coke and a box of baking soda. Terrible ideas. So summer 2018, I'm on this new journey. My partner of 10 years has started his new life. I'm trying to figure out how to date, how to still be brave enough to try relationships again. And I encounter this person and I call my best friend and I'm like, yo, I think I'm gonna date this man who creates skits for the internet for a living. One of those bad ideas. This poem is called Clown. When the class comedian takes my phone to put his number in it, the unhealed preteen in me smiles at his half-assed effort. He must know I got a cabinet full of snacks and a jar full of weed. He must know I learned from generations of women how to put the needs of men over my own. You would think I know better than to walk into the justice court. After all, a fat girl be ripe fruit for the cute wounded boy who can pull a smile out of your teeth. I give the way a fat girl should. I crack open easy and the nectar seeps into his palms. He pretends to like me for me, but I know that he is drawn to sticky women with lips like sap. It does not take long for him to miscalculate a lie. Messy men always leave a clue behind. I remind him of all the ways he got me fucked up. I remind myself, ain't no glory in being the butt of his jokes. Didn't have to go back. And so this poem is called The Subtle Art of Missing a Fuckboy.
The Subtle Art, that poem, I think there are poems you write and poems that write you. And The Subtle Art was a poem that wrote me because in the midst of grief, in the midst of trauma, there are so many truths happening at the same damn time. There's this truth of you are obviously not good for me and you need to be way, way over there. This isn't working, so, we obviously don't need to be together. But then there's this truth hanging out over here that's like, I miss this person. Like, I have spent a lot of my life seeing this person's face, hearing this person's voice, texting them when I'm on my way home. So it's like you are reorienting your body language and your muscle memory around what it means to miss somebody. And I wish more people understood, like, just because somebody is taking space from you doesn't mean that they don't miss you. And I knew that, it wasn't going to be safe to be vulnerable at that time with this person. But of course, the page is my safe space, the place where I can be honest. And I could say there, I miss this person, but I know good and damn well, I bet not never go back.
One of the toughest lessons for me to learn along the way was how to miss somebody who was bad for me without continuing to place myself in harm's way. And one of the first quotes I encountered along my journey was this quote by the brilliant poet Nayyirah Waheed. She writes, "Someone can be madly in love with you and still not be ready. They can love you in a way that you have never been loved and still not join you on the bridge. And whatever their reasons, you must leave because you never ever have to convince someone to do the work to be ready. You never ever have to convince someone to meet you on the bridge. There is more love, More extraordinary love than you have ever seen in this wide and wild universe, and there is a love that will be ready. And I was spending so much energy trying to convince people to like me, to want what I wanted. And I was exhausting myself on men who were just plain old mean. And so I wrote this poem as a sort of manual. It is called The Subtle Art of Missing a Fuckboy. You do not miss him. You miss his brand of high. This is withdrawal, nothing more. Have a seat. Take a deep breath. Drink a glass of water, eat an edible. Whatever you do, do not call him. You know how this ends. You know he will not answer. Leave him be. He has already left you. Make room for both grief and gratitude. Give yourself permission to miss the smell of smoke mixed with his skin. Grieve the loss of a house you grew up in. Look at the pictures. Play the song you danced to on his birthday, but for God's sake, do not beg for his bullshit. Do not spend the winter waiting on the bridge. Spend it by a fire in the warmth of your own love. Spend it with men who know a good thing when they see it. Those who read all parts of the paragraph text messages you sent. Those who aren't afraid of light or truth. I mean, haven't you given enough to the godless? Ain't it time to collect your things? Ain't it time to realize you can't love nobody into loving you? Keep everything you wanted to give him for yourself. Be the lover he wasn't brave enough to be. Love your way through this. Sobriety, it is a process.
Wish her the best. It's without you, so how about you confess the extent to which you lost her trust? Dared her to leave, she called your bluff. Shared houses, now empty stuff. Love endures, but not so much. And sure, you may be a fuckboy, grew up of terror, over by lovejoy. That don't mean that things can't change and you can't bring yourself to eventually unload the weight you've been carrying. It's embarrassing, insecurity, masters arrogance. You don't need a relationship, nigga. What you need is a therapist. You own worst enemy. Saddled with false straps of masculinity, socialized to believe that right there is a remedy. We have all seen those guys. They will never be satisfied. Swear they bold, but it's cap. They are actually italicized, and nobody wants to be this nigga. Telling lie after lie, ditch digger, leaving a girl at home, crying with that Kerry Washington lip quiver. We better than that. Best believe that's something I know. Best believe you and me can grow. Best believe this ain't the end of our show. We can set up at a stage for our legacy. You gotta let her be until you ready to be. Let her go until you ready to be. I'm talking to you, I'm talking to me. Set up at a stage for a legacy. Let her be until you're ready to be. I'm talking to you, I'm talking to me. Talking to you, I'm talking to me. Smoke.
You and me could move a mountain. You and me could calm a war down. You
On June 6th, 2007, Outkast and UGK dropped the instant classic, the International Players Anthem. It is the only anthem I recognize at this point in my life. And the summer of 2007, I was graduating high school. I lived in a little town called Snellville, Georgia. I went to South Gwinnett High. Our biggest export was basketball. You probably know a few players who were on the team that year. And I didn't have a car. And so I met this guy in my music class who drove a white Jeep. And so that summer, I needed a ride to work. I was going back and forth from the house to Arby's, and it was like 100 degrees, so I couldn't walk. And my parents weren't, there was a weird time, so there wasn't always a car around, so I'd walk sometimes. And so I started hitching around with this guy who, I made friends with in class. And so I think we were in the white Jeep when the International Players Anthem, like when we first heard it. And so that was one of the moments where I was like, oh, that was a good moment. Like, however you tell it, however the story ends, this is a good moment to be a part of, right? Which is another part of like those truths, right? Like there were some really dope moments to be a part of. And so being in Atlanta when the International Players Anthem dropped, and then being a poet when Andre 3000 spits this verse was just, it's a moment that makes you like as a person. And still to this day, I typed a text to a girl I used to see. Like a whole room joins in on it because we know it. It's ingrained in us, especially being from the South. So that was a good moment to be a part of, and I wanted it to live. So I put it in smoke.
Okay, cool. So I was writing Smoke, and I was channeling these red emotions. I was channeling grief, rage over having been betrayed so intimately. But it was important to me that the story didn't stop in pain. I think as artists, we have this tendency to build monuments to our pain. We let it live a long time. And I said, you know what? I'm going to be grateful. I'm going to practice some gratitude in the midst of my grief. I'm going to be grateful for the times I had, for the opportunities that I got, the things that I got to experience with this person. And so the brilliant, brilliant poet Gwendolyn Brooks wrote this poem called When You Have Forgotten Sunday. And it's about the art of forgetting. And yet she remembers these vivid details of things that she and her partner used to do on Sunday. And so I wrote my own version of the poem. If you don't know, I met my ex the summer of my senior year in high school. And so that was the year that the International Players Anthem came out, featuring Outkast and UGK, RIP Pimp C. And so I wrote this poem called When You Have Forgotten the International Players Anthem Day.
Ooh, I choose you, babe. You, babe. Ooh, I choose you, babe. You, babe. Ooh,
When you have forgotten the anthem, forgotten to choose me. When you have forgotten the sacred ritual of smoke while maxing out your subs in an old car. When you have pledged your allegiance to another. When you have forgotten Saturday morning walks and Sunday afternoons as the world spun without us. When you have forgotten the movies, how our hands were magnets in a dark theater. The choreography of you eating the food off my plate. Clumsy Kwanzas as we conjured home or something like it. When you have forgotten California and Florida and Tennessee and me playing my favorite songs on repeat and cussing you out for playing trap music before noon on a Sunday. When you have forgotten the things worth keeping, then you may tell, then I may believe that you have forgotten me well.
you, babe. Ooh, I choose you, babe. You, babe. Ooh,
that at the end.
I would say that's acapella anyway. So
yeah, but I was wondering if y'all, like, when I finished it, if you came in and just did a quick dun, 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 and then cut it.
Juvie intro?
Yeah. I came to poetry through competition, and competition poetry is called Poetry Slam. And one of the coolest experiences that I've had in my life was to be able to travel and perform at national competitions. And one of the rules of the individual competitions was you had to write poems of different lengths. So you'd have a 1 minute round and a 2 minute round and a 3 minute and a 4 minute round. And so when I was approaching writing 1 minute poems, I don't even know how I remember how I came to this poem. I was actually on Facebook one day, and there was this article about this girl who was twerking in her graduation gown. And I was like, people don't have a lot, but they have the audacity to police women's bodies, to tell us what to do and what not to do. And I'm like, I'll twerk across the stage to get my degree, and did, okay? And so it became a poem. And I said, I don't need a lot of space to say what I need to say. And so I was like, we're going to take this 60 seconds and we're going to, have a moment. And twerk ended up being a moment. That poem has gotten me to many final stages, and it's still one of my favorites to perform. And interestingly enough, the show version that you're going to see happened in rehearsal, because I think at first I was going to do the poem a cappella, and then we were going to back the thing up. And what happened was, Slim starts while I'm doing the poem, the dun, 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 and I was like, oh, let's do that. And then it kind of makes it more theatrical. So, yeah.
He says real women don't twerk. I say, oh, really? The last time I checked, what I do with my behind don't make me hold my head any less high. I remember, before you called it twerking, me and my cousins would pop in the backyard at the family reunions, and it didn't make us any less women. I remember watching my mother and her sisters move their hips like there was freedom in their bones, and it didn't make them any less goddess. We have been shaking our behind since before we knew what foreign soil tasted like back home. Call it mapuka, call it kukere, call it sacrifice for the gods, and I will present my offering every time I hear Cash Money Records taking over for the 99 and the 2000s. I will not let you tell me that the Africa in my back is something that I should be ashamed of. I will not let you tell me that I should quiet these drums. I will display them for all the world to see, because they are mine. They are mine. They are mine. Twerk break at home.
This is kind of like in the middle of the joke. This is kind of mid-show. So
Yeah, because after this, I'm a cappella, so you may as well make it big then.
Yeah, guys, we can jam out on this.
I have a question.
Hopefully I have an answer.
Are you going to be singing that octave?
No, I'm gonna go up. I'm just not doing it right now because Cottonmouth is real. It's still early.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, I wasn't finna reach for that right now. But on Monday, I got you. Okay. I'll go there.
Okay.
It might be falsetto. It's gonna be a loud falsetto. But
do what you have to do.
But I'll be up there.
You go ahead and do what you
So yeah, I got you.
Okay.
Yeah, guys.
One of the ways in which I learned to heal a broken heart is empowered storytelling. So as humans, we create stories about why things happen the way that they did. And I realized that a lot of the grief that I felt in previous relationships was because I was making up this story about how things should have gone. And I wrote Epilogue and I saved it to be the last poem in the book because that was the poem where I was like, you've grown. I can see that you've learned your lessons
when they
now.
decide to let go of you.
So the story goes, and I tell the story in the show, I met somebody and I was like, this is the one, this is it. This is the love that everybody writes about. And then it lasted approximately 89 days. And I realized that you can have a dope 89 days with somebody and not hate their guts afterwards. That it really can be like, all right, this is great. It's not working for whatever reason, and you can just bounce. And that is the lesson that I think will probably make me live longer, is realizing that the story, it's not what you make up in your head. It is what it is. And you can let it be what it is and not hate the story. Just be like, that was dope. Let's do it again one day, or let's not.
So here I was, single in my 30s, trying to figure out how not to let pain and anger be the last stop. And along the journey, I found love. And I had this silly little idea that when you find love, that it has to be forever, that it has to stay long. And this poem, I learned how to process that love could be a thing that you experience for a short time, and it could still be a good time. And more importantly, the lyrics of this song by Muse go, if you say that it's over, I won't die. And I thought a lot about that. Thought a lot about what it meant to be okay if somebody leaves. And if you need to hear somebody say it, you will be okay. You'll make it through the other side, and you can still call it love. I begin the poem with a quote from Toni Morrison, her book Jazz. She says, I didn't fall in love. I rose in it. I saw you and made up my mind. This poem is the epilogue of the book. It's called Epilogue. And I invited my brother Sharod Virtuoso to join me.
Oh, no. We meet again, good friend. You see the stars come down to meet you. You look like the last time that a new day come and greet you. Stuck in your ways, stuck in your mind, stuck all the time when they're out of that room, especially mine. Used to be fine, I swear I was confused, must have been blind. There was a moment in time when I thought of you, now I'm on mine. So say hi to everybody, yeah. Tell them I love them, what's good this side of the globe. Is everything like it should, man, I don't know. But for everyone who feels they should go, if you say that it's over, if you say that it's over, I won't die. If you say that it's over, I won't die. I'll just come back for more. We'll meet again for sure. If you say that it's over, I won't die.
On the cusp of fall, I met a man with a name sweet as Louisiana. He brown, butter beautiful, and brilliant as a Saturday afternoon. We love like we've been practicing, like the years made us wiser without taking the softness. We black and brilliant, and together we debate politics and music and Oprah. We love like we done got good at it. Then one January Sunday, before winter could get comfortable in our bones, I reached for him and he did not reach back. And that is how the story ends this time, not in drama or tragedy, but in romance. And this one, I do not make a scene. I exit stage left and send for my things later. I eat sushi for a week. I call my sister and cry. but I do not spend the spring begging to be loved. If I have learned anything, it is not to chase ghosts. This is an exercise in love too. Learning to let go of someone when they decide to let go of you.
When you say that it's over, I won't die. If you say that it's over, I won't die. I'll just come back for more. We'll meet again for sure. If you say that it's over, I won't die. If you say that it's over, I won't die. If you say that it's over, I won't die. I'll just come back for more. We'll meet again for sure. If you say that it's over, I won't die.
The thing is, some of you are trying to write things in your life with
Hey.
pen. When they were temporary, they were supposed to be here for a moment. Moments old. But you write them in pen as if they're going to be.
Multitudes I wrote about my cousins and them. I'm originally from Chicago, Illinois, but my folks are, as a whole, originally from the South. We're children of the Great Migration, so my folks lived in Mississippi and Louisiana, and then my grandparents took trains to Chicago and decided to build a new life there.
We be a scorched people who know the heat of fire and live always to tell the story. And then I go,
So me and my cousins are from the South Side. I grew up mostly in the South suburbs, but our family reunion is on the South Side. And I wanted to capture those moments growing up because when my parents moved us to the South, I resented it for a while. I was like, I'm a city girl. I'm from Chicago. I don't like it here. And Atlanta's home to me now. But I miss like the ice cream trucks in Chicago. And like in Chicago, we have elote trucks. So elote is the Mexican corn. And just like an ice cream truck, they'll pull up and make the Mexican corn. So, I missed those things. And I missed being mischievous with my cousins. And we didn't get to have our family reunion this past year, which a lot of families didn't, which is the responsible thing to do. And so I wrote the poem just capturing, the story of a people who migrate, who move, who follow fire, who survive fires. And that's multitudes.
I'm from Chicago, and I have a bunch of cousins. And it's always like at the family reunion, so many different types of cousins. Like the cousin that don't mind starting no stuff. It's the cousin that made the macaroni and cheese when their ministry is really potato salad. And so I wrote this poem about my folks. If you don't know, Chicago is a city that was burned down and then rebuilt. So this poem is about a people that grew from ash. We contain multitudes. We weep. We fight. We know grief like an old lover. We play cards and talk shit. We play the dozens. And if you don't know, the dozens is when you talk about somebody's mama. We play the dozens with boundaries. Because I'm going to say something about your mama, but you say something about mine and I be ready to fight. We throw shade about the potato salad. We footwork and juke. We fail, but make the trying look good. We hide Aunt Annie's wig. We steal $1 to go to the candy lady. We ask daddy even after mama just told us no. We take a piece of Sunday dinner before it's cooled off. We burn our mouths and still come back for more. We be a scorched people who know the heat of fire and live always to tell the story. Third grade, I'm in the hallway and I'm sure I shouldn't have been, and Corey White comes up to me and asks, yo, have you heard the new Missy Elliott track? I replied, who is Missy Elliott?
complete title of this poem is For Colored Girls Who Don't Need Katy Perry When Missy Elliott Is Enough.
If you ask me what representation is important, I will tell you. On days I don't feel pretty, I hear the sweet voice of Missy singing to me. Pop that, jiggle that, and don't stop getting to your clothes and back. And right now, they're looking black girls just waiting to see someone who looks like them.
And the title sort of evolved. I feel like I've given this poem 3 or 4 different titles since I wrote it. But that's the one I settled on. It is a tribute to Ntozake Shange's For Colored Girls Who Have Considered Suicide When the Rainbow Is Enough. And I wrote this very shortly after the Super Bowl, where Katy Perry performed and then Missy Elliott joined her for the Super Bowl performance. And Twitter, 12-year-old Twitter at the time, it's like, who is this? You know, who's this lady performing with Katy Perry? And I'm like, let me tell you something. What we're not going to do is act like you don't know who Missy Elliott is. So I felt an obligation to write a poem about, you know, Missy's contributions to the world and to my life as a little fat girl who wanted to dance. Oddly enough, not many people know this, but dance was my first love. I was going to be a choreographer. I watched Fatima choreograph the Aaliyah videos. I watched Beyonce's choreography. I probably can do it all. Like, I would record videotapes and dance. And one of the people who I watched was Missy. I remember when Lose Control came out and she and Sierra do this crazy dance sequence. And I was like, I'm going to be a dancer. And eventually, I realized I didn't really have the feet for a dancer, and then I realized I didn't have the knees to do it. Injured my knee in high school. And so poems became my art and how I express myself to the world. But I wrote about that little girl who saw somebody who looked like her, because regardless, you know, Missy's a brilliant writer. So I knew I could be a writer. I knew I could be a producer. I knew I could be a director. I knew I could dance if I wanted to. And I'm grateful for that, and that this poem is all about that moment, about what it means as a little Black girl to see yourself.
Third grade. I'm in the hallway, and I'm sure I shouldn't have been, and Corey White comes up to me and asks, yo, have you heard the new Missy Elliott track? I reply, who is Missy Elliott? At the time, my parents only let me listen to gospel and the smooth jazz station, but that day, I went home, ran upstairs to my room, closed the door, which is a cardinal sin in a Black mother's house, and I waited on TRL to come on. And then it happened. Metallics in a black trash bag filled my TV screen, and I hear the coolest thing I'd ever heard in 8 years of living. Beat, beat, who got the keys to the Jeep? Vroom, and at that moment, I had my entire life figured out. I was gonna grow up to be Missy Elliott. I spent the next 10 years of my life recording and rewinding videos to learn dance moves, passing that Dutch, getting my freak on, trying to figure out what the hell she was saying and work it. There were so many artists I could have idolized at the time, but Missy was the only one who looked like me. And it's because of Melissa Elliott that I believed that a fat Black girl from Chicago could dance until she felt pretty, could be sexy and cool, could be a woman playing a man's game and not be apologetic about it. If you ask me what representation in the media is important, I will show you. My velour outfit and the matching Kango hat I begged my parents for. I will show you a woman who learned how to dance until she felt pretty. Feminism wears a throwback jersey, bamboo earrings, and a face beat for the gods. Feminism is Brad, Missy Elliott, Lil' Kim, Angie Martinez, and Left Eye on the Not Tonight track. Feminism says, as a woman in my arena, you are not my competition. As a woman in my arena, your light doesn't make mine any dimmer. Dear Missy, I did not grow up to be you, but I did grow up to be me and to be in love with who this woman is, to be a woman playing a man's game and to not be apologetic about any of it. If you ask me what representation is important, I will tell you. On days I don't feel pretty, I hear the sweet voice of Missy singing to me. Pop that, jiggle that fat, and don't stop, get it till your clothes get wet. I will tell you that right now there are a million girls just waiting to see someone who looks like them.
Ooh, suck it to me like you want to. Ooh, I could take it like a pro, you know. Do it long stroke with the backstroke. My hormones jumping like a disco. I be popping mess like some Crisco. All you gotta say is miss it go. And when you say go, I won't move slow. Ooh, suck it to me like you want to. Ooh, I can take it like a pro, you know. Do it long, bro, with the back show. The hormone jumping like a disco. I be popping mess like some Crisco. All you gotta say is miss it go. And when you say go, I won't move slow.
I wrote that poem almost 5 years ago now, and it has taken me on a ridiculous journey. One of those ridiculous things that happened along the journey is somebody videotapes the poem while I'm performing it. They post it to the internet. And I get a DM from Missy, and she's like, yo, I saw the poem. I thought it was so dope. Can I have your address? I want to send you something. And I think to myself, after I return back to my body, either I'm going to give my address to a total stranger, or I might be giving my address to Missy Elliott. So next day, I'm sitting at home, minding my business, watching Jeopardy like a good millennial, R.I.P. Alex Trebek. And I get a knock at my front door, and Missy Elliott is standing on my front porch. And that story just reminds me to keep doing the work. It reminds me to stay present and be honest always in my art.
I get nervous. Autobiography came to me in pieces. And now that I'm thinking about the poem, I think I just had the line sitting somewhere, damn it, I'm magic. And I just wrote it down. I was like, save that. You'll use that one day. And I came back and wrote autobiography. I was in a sound check. I was doing a collaboration show with Rudy Francisco. And Rudy has a poem called My Honest Poem. And I was listening to it in the sound check. And as he's doing the poem, I'm like, oh, God. Like a poem decided to show up at that moment. And so I attribute it to after Rudy's Honest Poem, because I just started writing these facts about myself and thinking about, it's funny, as I was writing the poem, I was struggling. Like I was having a struggle with my agents about my shows, about the sets that I was doing, because my sets were very much centered, as they should be, on my experiences as a Black girl. And I realized that I didn't talk enough about being tender and being human. I talked a lot about feminism and needing strength and power, but I wanted to give myself permission to be vulnerable and be the clumsy girl who, I got, food on my shirt before I sat here for this interview. Like just being that girl and letting people know that part of me through the poems. And so autobiography sort of does that work. And it does the work of reclaiming the story. Again, storytelling, narrative making. What story do you tell yourself about the experience? And so the lines that stick out there are, I've loved and lost and got the nerve to still be standing. Damn it, I'm magic. And then there's the line where I said, it's going to break me saying it. My father died when I was 22 years old, and I have finally forgiven God for that. It took a long time to be able to say that I was mad at God about that. I was mad that, he wasn't there at my graduation, that he wasn't there to see smoke, that he didn't get to meet my bass player. My dad was a bass player. I was angry. I had a lot of rage about that. But to say, you know what? It's a thing that happened, and I'm going to forgive God if I have the audacity to do so. And I'm gonna keep living life like he would want me to. So that's how the story is going.
And part of being honest is writing honest poems. And so there's a poet, Rudy Francisco. He wrote this brilliant poem called My Honest Poem. And I heard him doing it in a sound check once, and I was so moved, I just instantly started my own version, like with facts about me. And so this poem is called Autobiography. My name is Ashlee. My favorite color is purple, and I watch way too much Netflix. Like watching an entire season of the Great British Bake Show in like a day much Netflix. I believe in wearing leggings as pants, and almost everything I eat ends up somewhere on my clothes most days. I'm too lazy to actually fold my clothes, so I let them sit in the basket the majority of the week. I don't watch much sports, but I still don't forgive the Atlanta Falcons for blowing a 28-3 lead in the Super Bowl. I work out 3 days a week, and I'm still not comfortable saying that without people looking at me like the liar I used to be. I used to be a liar. I used to tell myself all the things that I would do on Monday, next month, New Year's Day, but now I believe in today's. I don't believe in grape flavored things because they never taste like grapes. I think Coke canceling the Sprite remix is one of the biggest tragedies of this generation. My father died when I was 22 years old. I have finally forgiven God for that. I survived the type of heartbreak that makes monsters out of men, yet I choose softness. I choose healing. I choose love. I choose to open my heart again. I have learned to care less about what people think and learn to walk in my own truth in that. Well, that's the most gangster shit I'll ever do. A man made a mess out of me he couldn't clean up. Then black women and queer folks stepped up to help me finish the job. And if that ain't a metaphor, well, this ain't a poem about courage. A poem about a girl who could have clocked out but didn't. A poem about how life knocked the wind out of me and my village showed up to nurse me back to health. A poem about how much I have loved and lost and got the nerve to still be standing. Damn it, I'm magic. I'm also human and flawed. I've let pain do the talking where love should have, and I'm still forgiving myself for that. I am the person who skips over a song every time, but refuses to take it off the playlist. If my life were a playlist, it would start in Stevie Wonder and end in the Goo Goo Dolls' Iris. There would be much Justin Timberlake, Sade, Jill Scott, and a little Cartee B. There would be 3 different versions of Hotel California and my mother's favorite spiritual. When people ask me what I do for a living, I say I am a storyteller. And the one that has become my favorite to tell so far is my own.
Lean in. Let me tell you of a wallless church. A congregation of women in the business of saving women who, when given the trash and the broken, refuse to think you disposable women.
Kim is the last piece of the show, but it's actually the first piece that we wrote. The first piece that I recorded. So a year ago, I hit up Slim and he's home from tour, and I'm like, Slim, I need to get back into the studio, but it has to be with somebody I trust. I had a lot of nervous energy about myself in the studio because I'm a stage performer. And so to strip that down and figure out how to be effective and how to manipulate my voice, like I think I started drinking tea like 2 days in advance because I remembered that much.
We let you bask in the greatness. That is, should you be so lucky to be granted this magic, because we might side-eye you the kingdom come.
And it takes a lot to create a cohesive project. And I said, if I could just get a single, if I could get one piece of work that sort of sets the foundation for the work that I want to continue to do, especially recording, then this should be it.
Been the water and baby, you've been the well. Take a keep up before you save someone else. Just save yourself, girl. Save yourself, girl.
Yes, poetry lives here now. This poem lives here.
Come through, eyebrows, who demand we be black first and woman when it suits them. Yes, highlight. We save ourselves first and you get saved in the process, and ain't that the way it always goes? I see you, braid out.
It was my first take at a single, at really putting myself on Spotify and as a mixed medium artist. You know, my lane is a cappella. You give me a stage and a microphone and we gonna work. That's my medium, that's my paintbrush. And so then to collaborate and put music with it and make sure it felt good, because it can feel cheesy real fast, you know? And I didn't want it to feel like interlude cheese. I wanted to feel like, you know, a cohesive piece that was written intentionally for music, you know, the way Lin-Manuel Miranda puts poems with music on stage. I wanted it to feel like that. And I love what him evolved into. And then Sharod, the music director of the show, heard it. And then he interpreted this like shredded heavy metal rock guitar with it. And I am just so in love with how it fell out. So I hope you enjoy him.
Smoke, as you know, is a story about a girl who becomes her own savior. But I would be remiss if I didn't talk about the women who showed up to help me do the emotional work of grief, of forgetting, of moving on. I am held by such a dope community of women and folks who love me, and love is one of the key ingredients to healing. Time is the other. And so I wrote this poem about these dope-ass women, about the women of Wakanda, about the women of Alabama, women who show up, do the work. And this poem is called Him. Come through eyebrows. Yes, highlight. I see you braid out. Lean in. Let me tell you of a wallless church, a congregation of women in the business of saving women, who when given the trash and the broken refuse to think you disposable. Women who do the heavy lifting while the world gawks from the sidelines. Women who serve as a second womb for motherless children, or for grown men intent on not doing their own emotional work, and we let you bask in the greatness. That is, should you be so lucky to be granted this magic, because we might side-eye you to kingdom come. Might roll our eyes until you poof and disappear, and ain't that sorcery? The way our defenses protect us from the elements, from a winter of fuckboys intent on getting all of our harvest, and you so vain you think we do this for you. As if we wake up in the morning pandering to the world's gaze. As if the women of Alabama and Wakanda ain't have shit else to do than to save men from themselves. Lean in. We save ourselves first and you get saved in the process, and ain't that the way it always goes? We get dressed in all the work we do, and you are saved just by touching the hem of our garments. Black queer women create social justice movements, and you make it about people oblivious of their own privilege, who demand we be black first and woman when it suits them. Our intersectionality is a myth. Misogyny is a weed that grows back no matter how many think pieces you spray on it. The trouble with being the savior, though, is people don't usually think you need saving. They don't think you need gentleness. To the women I say, I vow to be more gentle. Know that you are worthy of someone who helps you with the work. Too long we have dined with the world, serving food from our own gardens on tables that we bought and built. All that I have I owe to black women. And here I say glory to the women who thought I was worth saving. Glory to the women who think I'm enough even on days when I fall short. I say come through eyebrows. I say yes, highlight. I say I see you. You'll be visible and you'll be worthy of all this praise.
Been through fire, baby, you've been through hell. You've been the water and maybe you've been the well. Take your cape off before you save someone else. Save yourself, girl. Save yourself, girl. Been through fire, and maybe you've been through hell. You've been the water, and maybe you've been the well. Take your cape off before you save someone else. Save yourself, girl. Save yourself, girl.
My name is Ashlee Haze. This has been Smoke, the live experience. Shout out to my band, the Band of Brothers. Shout out to my muses. Shout out to the video team. Shout out to everybody who made this happen. And shout out to you. I hope Smoke helps you, it heals you. I've been Ashlee Haze. Remember to hydrate, moisturize, mind your business, and wash your damn hands.
I started planning this show a year ago. And the original plan was to put the book Smoke out in September of 2020 and to do a big theater show. I was gonna rent out one of the local theaters. We'd have an audience, we'd do it with the band and all that the same way. But the expectation was that 200 people would buy tickets and buy books. And that didn't happen this year. So I had to figure out a way to make it happen. And luckily, I have been blessed to receive some grants from local agencies, the City of Atlanta, Mayor's Office of Cultural Affairs, Fulton County Arts, and the National Black Arts Festival all contributed to help make Smoke happen. And I put some of my money with it because I believe in paying artists. I believe in producing quality work. So we figured out how to rent cameras, buy cameras, microphones, put a set together. And we made this show happen. And I'm so, so proud. And thanks to City Winery for letting me host the show there.
Yo, real quick, can we double check that audio just to make sure everything is steady?
That was horrible. Are we done? Are we done? Are we done?